Welcome to the SAP HANA Academy. My name is Bob, and in this video we'll be looking at creating roles within the SAP HANA Studio. In this video we're going to be using the SAP HANA Studio to introduce you to the concept of roles. So in the example I'm going to give, we're going to create a role which enables read-only access to a specific schema. We'll then create a user, allocate that role to the user, and then test to see if the role actually works. So the first thing that we need to do is let's go ahead and create the role. Now what we're going to do, as just to confirm, is if I drill into my existing database as the system user, we have a schema called STS and we have all these tables. Now, as the system user, I can drop, I can insert, I can create, and I can run select statements. But we're going to create the user to only have select access to this schema, none of the other schemas. So to do this, what we need to do first is go and create that role. So we create our roles in the security folder, and here are some existing roles. So we're going to right click on roles and create a new role. So I'll call this STS underscore read underscore role. So the only thing we really have to do here is allocate the select access to that STS schema. And we can do that in the third tab, which is our SQL privileges tab. So I'll click on the green plus button. I'll type in my name of my schema, and it'll give me any, if I type the first three letters, it'll give me the name of any of those objects. So some of these are views. So I'm going to go ahead and select that schema. And then on the right hand side, I can allocate the privilege. So I'm going to obviously only allow the select. That's actually all you need to do. Then when you've done that, all you need to do is click on execute. And you'll see that the role was created. So now if I right click on my roles and refresh, we can see that that STS read role exists. So the next step is to create a user who has access to that role. So we can do that in our users pane, and I'm going to right click and create a new user. I'll call this user STS read user just to make it clear. I'll allocate a password. And then I'll grant the role. That's the only thing we need to do now. In another video, we created the user and allocated the right to the user. So we allocated the right here. But the advantage with roles, of course, is that you can put multiple rights in a role and then grant them very easily to users. So all we need to do now is actually allocate the role. So if I do a search for STS, we should see that our role appears, our read of the STS schema, and it's a role. So then I'll click on OK. So there's nothing else I really need to configure here. If I wanted to do some form of delegated administration, I could make it grantable to users, other users or roles, but we can leave it as it is. And now that we've done that, I can execute. What you'll have noticed is that when I created that user, the public role was automatically allocated as well by the sys user, as a grantor. Now that we've created that user, if I right click on my users and refresh, we can see that we have the STS read user, and of course we've still got that STS read role. So really now we only have to test with this user. So the simplest way to do that is by creating a new system on the left hand side in the navigator pane. So we can do this by right clicking, adding a system, This is called HANA. My server is called HANA. The instance number is 00, and I'm going to call this role underscore test. This is just a name that we're calling this connection. Then I'll click on next. So this is where we allocate that database user. So for me it's STS read underscore user, and then I have to type the password. Then when I click on finish, because I've just created this user, I'll be prompted to type in a new password. There we go. So then I'll click on OK. OK. And then that extra connection has been created, as you can see here. So obviously the last step is quite straightforward. We drill it into our database. We expand the catalog folder. So now we can see the STS read user can access their own schema, but also they can access the STS schema. Because we granted the public role, we were able to access a few other schemas. So now when I go into the STS schema, I'm going to go to my list of tables. Obviously the first test is, can I run a select statement? Well, let's see if I can do a data open content. This will essentially run a select statement on that table. But as a simple test, can I now delete that table? Or essentially drop it? So I'm going to try and delete the table as well. So of course, because we don't have the right, we should get insufficient privileges. There we go. Of course, that would be very easy to change. I would just now need to go to the role, make the change there, and then I don't really need to do anything to the user, and then the role will be reflected straight away. So if I wanted to, I could give the right to delete that table. So that's a very simple demonstration of how we can use the SAP HANA Studio to create roles and how we can test them. Thanks for watching. You can see more videos at academy.saphana.com.